seed by virtue of winning in Phoenix the other night. Excellent win. They go on I think 17-5 to close the game.
Yep, huge game from Denny Avdia.
Just awesome. We talked about it the other day. I just want to say, at the trade deadline, the Blazers had lost 6 games in a row, were 5 games under 500. I think they were in 10th or 11th. And, there was the opportunity there to sell. They could have traded. I don't think there was a robust market for Jeremy Grant, but they could have just sold him for nothing. They could have traded Drew Holiday. They didn't. There was they were in this period before the new ownership had taken over or whatever. And they play strong basketball down the stretch, win their way over the last week to 10 days of the season into getting to the 7-8 game, then go down to Phoenix. They're behind and come back and win that game on the road. They've really achieved really well. You know what? As I'm watching them win the game and I'm seeing Dame Lillard standing over there on the bench.
Yeah.
It was about a year ago this week, right? When Dame tore his Achilles. And terrible fortune.
I think it was a couple weeks later because it was during the playoffs, but still.
I thought it was, yeah.
I thought it was game 1 of the playoffs.
Might have
Don't
been.
make us look
either way, it was right.
Well, anyway,
right around
roughly
right
a year
now for sure. Yeah.
And obviously that was a terrible turn of events and everything like that. Things have gone, as I'm watching Dame celebrate the team going. I would say things have gone pretty well for Dame Lillard. He gets waived, so he's getting all of his money. Granted, it's spread out over some years.
When he was miserable in Milwaukee, by the way, just
gets to come back to Portland, come back home. They give him a 3-year, $42 million deal.
With a no trade clause.
He gets a no trade clause in the deal. Other than LeBron, the only no trade clause in the league, so that he can't get traded to Milwaukee or wherever again. All right.
Yeah.
So, by the way, he gets all of his money from Milwaukee. That's $42 million over and above what that guarantee was going to be. God bless America. And the Blazers end up having a really good step forward season. And when he comes back next year, he's going to be joining a team that's on the upswing.
Yeah, and they've had an on-ball star emerge. Denny Avdia is an on-ball point forward star. Bontemps, Wendy, I don't have a ballot.
Can I interject just because I have a question specifically about this? So I went through this with Stats Williams, who we're about to talk about in a second, our dear friend. I went through the ballot earlier today. The final outstanding thing on my ballot is the final spot on the 3rd All-NBA team, where I'm trying to decide between.
Yeah. This is tough every year, or many years.
Well, and I will say, the fact that two
guys got
players got
in.
added means that the 2 of these guys are not going to now make it. So Denny is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Barnes, who we talked about before, is another one. And Kevin Durant is the 3rd one.
Wow, Durant is that far back under ballot. That's interesting. And you say there's one spot for those 3, huh?
Well, I can rip through my teams really fast. The first team was the 5 guys. The first team was the 5 guys on the ballot.
Wendy was trying to save that for later.
Well, if you want, we'd save it for later if you want.
No, it's not going to be on this podcast. We're already too long. So
I just think let's just leave it at this. Denny Avdia had an all-NBA caliber season. We can say that.
I was trying to ask you guys who I should pick of those 3 guys.
You're not going to get me to commit to that in 30 seconds. I'd have to think about it.
Okay, that's fine. You can think about it.
What else did Stats Williams say?
Well, Stats Williams
this
said
one's wild.
All
Go
right.
on.
So as part of our discussion today, Stats Williams declared that he had a hot take. And so I said, okay, what's your hot take? And his hot take is that the Portland Trailblazers are going to win this first-round series against the San Antonio Spurs in 6 games.
He gave you permission to say this out loud on a podcast?
He gave his permission. So here is his elevator. I said, give me the elevator pitch on why Portland's going to win this series. So this is his pitch. To be clear, Stats Williams, our brilliant friend, this is his pitch. Obviously, they've got a bunch of very good defensive players. They could throw a lot of different looks at Victor. They've got Tumati Kamara, fantastic defender. Drew Holiday. They've got the 2 different bigs, Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams, they could throw at him. I understand Donovan Clingan's not hanging with Victor on the perimeter, but they've got different options they could throw at. They shoot a ton of 3-pointers. Not always accurately, but they get up a lot of threes. So if they get into a series and have 2 or 3 games where they go 20 for 50 from 3, which is very possible, that's a lot of points. And as we've talked about, the Spurs, one of the questions about them going into the playoffs is how real is their 3-point shooting. They've got a lot of guys they can also throw at the guards. They don't have to, so they can sort of neutralize them. And finally, you just mentioned how good Denny Avdija is. He's one of the best foul drawers in the league. And if he can get Victor in any kind of foul trouble in any games of this series, that dramatically changes the complexion of the game. So there's the Stats Williams pitch on why Portland can win and why he's picking them to win the series.
Okay, I've got a pitch on why I'm picking the Spurs to win.
Victor
Wembanyama is awesome. He's by far the best player in the series.
That's a good answer.
Well, here's the thing. Wemby didn't play against the Blazers this year. In the 3 games, he missed all 3. He missed the last, I think, 2 games that they played last year because of the blood clot. He hasn't actually played against the Blazers since December of 24.
Which is the other thing Matt said, is without that, it's hard to know what the actual contours of the matchup will look like. But
well, and I am very
that's why
curious.
It's a hot take.
I'm curious to see how they'll defend Wemby, because he's a nightmare matchup for Donovan Clingan, who is a really, really good young big, especially on the defensive end. But we've talked about how Wemby, like these bigs, when Wemby brings them out to the perimeter and he's raining threes and then attacking closeouts, they've got to challenge the 3. Like it's foul trouble waiting to happen. And so,
I would guess Thiago Splitter is going to do something akin to what Joe Mazzulla did in the past against Nikola Jokic, and against Victor, I think, where he would have Drew Holiday, or I because of the matchups, I think Toumani Camara or Drew Holiday is my guess, will start out on Victor Wembanyama. And if it was me, I would do that, and I would put Donovan Clingan on Stephon Castle, and I would dare Stephon. Listen, Stephon Castle may go 6 for 6. That's fine, but I would dare him to make shots and show he's going to make shots, and then adjust off of that. Because look, to your point, if you put Donovan Clingan on Victor Wembanyama, that's not going to go well. So, that's
it's just a really, really tough matchup for a big who is a great defensive anchor, but not I wouldn't say he's fleet-footed.
So let me just say, now granted, Victor averaged less than 30 minutes a game this season, and we'll watch the minutes as they go in the playoffs. Victor averaged more blocks per game than fouls per game. Okay, he only averaged 2.4 fouls per game this year. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because Victor's arms are so freaking long that he can block and challenge shots without having to be near the player. And so this is the thing.
And he can just be vertical. He doesn't have to get blocks.
He can challenge a shot from the lane. He can challenge a 3 from the lane. It's crazy, but it's true. So I'm sure that Denny will look to go into Victor to try to get foul. He looks for contact every waking second he's on the court. And that's actually one of the reasons why I think that sometimes Victor could be very effective against Shea, because Victor can defend Shea's get to the elbow and operate without actually having to come in contact with Shea, therefore drawing fouls. Now, maybe there will be ways to, there's always counters that you can do in basketball. It's part of the game, but that is something to keep an eye on. Is that Victor, one of his great advantages is that he can defend the rim without having to be physical. And I just want to draw fouls.
I do want to point out when I say careful on the Sagoff Castle plan, the last 3 months of the season, so it's roughly half the season. It's 38 games played for him. He shot 39.8% from 3-point range. So
their whole team after the All-Star break was top 5 in 3-point percentage.
They didn't miss a shot, which is part of why they went whatever it was, 32-2 until they lost the last game. And by the way, what happened when they played in the last game against the Denver Nuggets? I'm going to look up the numbers right now, but a big part of the reason they lost that game was with Victor out, and obviously Victor's going to play. Obviously it's a different thing. He's going to draw a ton of attention, but they went 15 for 47 in that game from 3. De'Aaron Fox went 4 for 14 from 3. Like, yes, Stephon Castle went 2 for 3, and he might go 6 for 7. That's fine. But I would be daring Stephon Castle to make shots in the playoffs and then adjusting off it rather than assuming he's going to make shots.
I'd say a bigger reason they lost that game is because they gave up 128 points with Victor and Luke Cornett out. Well, God bless Bismack Biyombo, but
yes, that's fine.
Him and Plumlee aren't what you want to have on the floor in a game you need to win.
But they're the biggest question about the Spurs going into the playoffs is their perimeter play around Victor, and is it going to be good enough? And are those guys going to make enough shots? Because De'Aaron Fox is not a great three-point shooter. Stephon Castle, who is a great player, is not a great three-point shooter. Dylan Harper, who I absolutely love as a player, is not a great three-point shooter. So, like, you're gonna have to. Those guys are gonna have to prove they can make shots. Like, and they might make shots. Like that might be what happens. But I think if you're Portland going into the series, your way to come close to making stats is a very bold prediction. A winner is you've got to win the 3-point contest pretty heavily, and some of that's going to require De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle and those guys to miss shots.
All right. In the 3-6, the Denver Nuggets, try as they might to not be the 3. I mean, protect their players from injury. Sorry.
Listen, don't start that. I've been chastised for suggesting that they were trying to duck the Wolves.
Me too.
What do we say on the pod, fellas? Actions over words.
Well,
Actions
they arrive
over words.
After everything they've gone to. Peyton Watson is still dealing with the hamstring, but they arrive mostly healthy. Most important, Aaron Gordon is healthy. The Wolves arrive with their team was banged up late. Jaden McDaniels and Ant Edwards. We'll see exactly how healthy Ant is. Ant has been bionic, but he has had this knee thing, this swelling thing in his knee that he's had trouble getting rid of. And, earlier this year, he's never missed. I feel like he's missed more games this year than his whole career combined. The guy never missed games. So
yeah,
we know it's bothering him. But still, he's a difference-making force. I looked this up 2 years ago when the Wolves upset the Nuggets in 7 games. Jokic averaged just a little bit under 4 assists more per game in the wins than the losses. He averaged about 10 assists in the wins and a little over 6 assists in the losses. The Wolves' game plan at that time was to defend Jokic's pass. They put Karl Towns. I mean, obviously there was different rotations and what have you, but their basic strategy was put Karl Towns onto Jokic and have Rudy Gobert play center field to defend that pass. And in the games where they were able to make him a passer, or make him a scorer, they had success. In Game 6, which Minnesota won, Jokic had 2 assists. In Game 7, which Denver obviously blew the big lead on, he had 7 assists, and I think only had 1 or 2 in the second half. So that will be, I assume, the game plan. Again, I guess we're going to see maybe Julius Randle.
It'll have to be Randle, and talk about a massive challenge for Randle, who is a big, strong, physical guy, but Cat's 7 feet tall. Julius Randle's 6'9". That's a pretty massive difference, especially with Joker's ability just to turn around and knock down shots over guys. And I think the other big development for Denver offensively since then, when you talk about taking away Joker's pass, you're really specifically talking about with Rudy in that center field role, being able to take away the lob or the dump off to Aaron Gordon coming out of the dunker spot or cutting. Gordon since then has developed into a 40+ percent 3-point shooter over the last couple of years. His injury interrupted as they are. So, we talked about who was the big shot it was the big shot against the Spurs that Gordon hit, where he's in the dunker and he reads it, and the space that was available was backing out to the corner 3, and boom. So that just adds a whole new element for the Denver offense and for just that chemistry between Gordon and Joker.
Yeah. Also, the other way around, in that series, I pretty much think that Denver just didn't really guard Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels had a 41% season from 3-point range. Last year he shot 33%. So, when you talked about Steph Castle a minute ago. Well, you see who you leave open. Maybe you can't leave Aaron Gordon open, and maybe you can't leave Jaden McDaniels open either, like you used to.
And the Spurs in that game left Christian Brown open, and he made him pay for it.
Yep.
So Christian Brown is not a high volume 3-point shooter, but he got a bunch of, invitation threes, and he stepped into them and was knocking them down.
All right, the 4-5 is Lakers Rockets. I think if I'm going to say that the Hawks are something more than a 6, I have to say that maybe the Lakers are something less than a 4. And that's
this iteration for sure. I mean, without
right.
60 points and 15 assists or whatever sit on the bench.
Yeah. So the Lakers, the word I've been using for what they need to do is they need to extend. They need to extend the games and extend the series. So
That's the same situation the Sixers are in. Just try to keep it around as long as possible and hope you can get your guys back at some point.
Yeah, well, and the games themselves, you want to make the Rockets play in the fourth quarter.
Well, that too, yes. Get to clutch time with the Rockets and you like your chances.
If you can keep it close, it gives you a chance to steal games and extend the series. The league office has done all they could do. You've got 2 full days
explain
off.
I was going to say, explain what you mean by that.
There's some real recovery time in extending the series in terms of days between games. Some recovery time for LeBron and KD for that matter. KD's not a spring chicken, but it's a Saturday, Tuesday, Friday for the first 3 games.
Series starts on the first day it can start, and it ends on the last day it can end. So it's extended out as long as it possibly can be.
Yeah, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, then from Sunday to a Wednesday. I mean, they really, there's some, and then, I don't know, can Luka and
it is common for there to be the first round
6?
drawn out, but this is, it's
drawn. Listen, we're just calling it like it is. It's drawn out as far as it possibly can be. It's got an extra 2 days in the schedule. It is what it is. Like, doesn't mean it's some grand conspiracy.
And I would just say that the 4-5 is always going to start on Saturday because I don't
know if that's always necessarily the case, but
do you know what other series has some rest time built in? OKC's got a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and I appreciate that because I will be going home for one night as the series shifts. Now, who might the Thunder be playing in the first round? A team with some older fellers that are
the Warriors.
Good for TV? Oh, okay. Just saying, it is what it is.
The first round covers 3 weekends, so and they want the games on the weekend. So as a result, the first round is always drawn out. Maybe there's an extra day in there, and frankly, you need the rest in the back of the series more than you need it in the front.
Well, that's fine. The fact of the matter is it could be 2 days shorter than it is. So it's not.
It definitely is mildly favoring the Lakers. I do not think that they purposely did it.
It doesn't matter. It's not whether they did it or whether they meant to or not, they did. And
my point is there's rest and recovery time.
That's right. Those series,
the Lakers, the longer it goes, the better the Lakers' odds.
Yes, that's right.
To get one or both of their stars back, and the rest days early in the series. LeBron's got at 41 years old just a massive load. Like Marcus Smart's their secondary playmaker, or Luke Kennard, a guy who's never been in that role, maybe since high school. I don't know.
He can handle the ball a little bit, but I mean, look, they need LeBron
against
to be
Ben Thompson and Tari Eason.
Well, and that's the thing. To me, it's not only the need LeBron James to have a throwback few games to keep them afloat until they get potentially some of these, either Austin and or Luka back. There are a few players in the league better equipped to guard LeBron James than Ben Thompson, and he's 20 years younger than him. So that is a awfully big challenge to not only have to do this, but doing it against one of the biggest and strongest perimeter defenders in the league. That's going to be a real challenge. And the only way the Lakers can be competitive is if he can win that matchup until those guys get back. And that's, I think, an open question.
Well, here's the thing.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Something to point out for the Rockets. I don't want to change this topic, but I want to point something out for the Rockets. So go ahead, McMahon.
No, I was just going to say they also need DeAndre Ayton to deliver big time. And I like 41-year-old LeBron's odds of having a big time playoff series much more than
this is what JJ said. He said that our two most important things we have to do in this series: 1, rebound; 2, box out. I'm like, well, that's not the same thing. Like
they're related.
Number 1 is the most important thing is rebounding. Number 2 most important thing is rebounding, and that is targeted at 8. And one of the things that you need to do to extend a game is to not give up so many offensive rebounds. That's basic analysis,
especially against that team.
After the All-Star break, Reed Sheppard averaged 15 points on 40% three-point shooting, averaged almost 5 more minutes a game, started 15 games. So Reed Sheppard, the Lakers, when he's out there, the Lakers have to try to target him defensively.
Yeah.
But it's harder to target Şengün and Reed Sheppard out there when you're missing 2 of your 3 best offensive players.
And I'm fascinated to see if there are games that are close down the stretch, if Reed Sheppard's on the floor to close. And, Ime has made it clear that's a case-by-case, feel type of situation in terms of his decision-making. But you remember the Rockets had that clutch meltdown where KD basically said, I probably just got to get off the ball. Like, we're really not handling the traps at half court against me well. Number 1, Şengün didn't play in that game. 2, Sheppard, that's when pretty soon after that's when Reed got some run in the starting lineup, and there were some closing situations like the game against the Heat where he was the primary initiator and Katie played in the corner and knocked down a couple big corner threes.
Okay, well, I think we're ready.